Turned on YouTube anyway, since we had time for him to come in the courtroom.
Okay. Now calling the matters of the people versus Andre Martini Williams. This is ticket 7357773, one count reckless driving, one count no operator's license on person. I also have ticket SP 1411138, one count reckless driving. Ticket SP 1411139, one count failed to immediately disclose to officer that he or she was carrying a weapon. Appearances for the record, starting with counsel, please.
For the record, Your Honor, Gianchico Mason, City of Detroit, 43471. I do have Officer Allison present. So,
all right. Officer, can you state your name for the record, please?
Officer Allison, badge 4443 of the Detroit Police Department.
All right. Counsel?
Dennis Whitey, P79560, on behalf of Andre Williams. Please state your full name for the record. Andre Martini Williams.
Okay. All right. Today is the date and time set for a bench trial in this matter. How are we proceeding?
ready to proceed, Your Honor.
All right. You ready to proceed as well?
Yes, Your Honor, but we don't, there's 4 cases here. 2 of the 4 has a no officer present, so I move to dismiss on those. Right. Ticket ending 7731 and 7732.
All right. On the matters where there's no officer present, the court will dismiss those matters without prejudice at this time. All right. Are we ready to proceed, counsel?
Defense is ready.
All right. Counsel for the city?
Ready to proceed, Your Honor. At this time, we would waive any opening argument and we would call our officer to stand. And Your Honor, Matt, just intercede at this point. I'm going to have to tell, I'm in Judge Garrett's courtroom. I need to let her know right quick.
Okay, let them know and then let me know when you're ready, okay?
You don't need me anymore, correct, Judge?
No more, yep. You're all set, Attorney Balkman, you're all set as
Everyone
well.
have a great day.
You have a great rest of your day too.
You too, thank you.
Thank you. Happy Monday, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you, happy Monday to you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, we can go, Your Honor. Proceed.
All right, we're all set. All right, Officer Olson, can you turn your camera on and please? So I can take some testimony. All right. Sir, can you raise your right hand? Yeah. Do you swear or affirm? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can put your hand down. Counsel, you can proceed.
Good morning, Officer Allison. Would you please state your full name for the record?
Officer Kevin Allison.
And where are you employed currently?
Detroit Police Department.
And what is your rank?
Police officer.
And the date of December 13th, 2022 at approximately 8:19 p.m. were you on duty at that time?
Yes.
And did you happen to be working in the area of Alter Road in Wavenly?
Yes.
And at that point, did you come across the defendant, Andre Martini Williams?
Yes.
And I'm going to be asking you a series of questions, so I really don't want a narrative. So just tell us when you first approached defendant Williams.
On a traffic.
And what was the basis?
We didn't hear that. We didn't hear that at all.
The counter was on a traffic stop.
And would you tell the court how you encountered him on a traffic stop?
I observed him traveling at a high rate of speed southbound Alter from Waveney.
And would you please describe what kind of car he was driving?
It was a gray 2007 Honda.
Now, you indicated it was a high rate of speed. What type of speed was it?
Due to the jerking motion of the vehicle and the sound of engine when it comes to revving.
It is what caught your attention initially?
Correct.
Okay. And then did you observe him speeding?
Correct.
And could you tell the court what the rate of speed was?
The posted speed limit was 30 miles per hour. I had to go over 80 miles per hour. Catch up to.
And would you please describe to the court what type of community this is? Commercial, residential?
This is a residential street.
And indicated was at 8:19 p.m. at night. Was it dark outside or was it daylight, if you know? Or we'll call. Okay. What were the weather conditions, if you remember?
Pretty clear standard day.
And you indicated that he was driving at, would you repeat the rate of speed that you thought he was driving at?
I had to drive over 80 miles per hour to catch up to the vehicle.
And at some point, did you put on your lights and sirens?
Yes.
Okay. And what happened after you put on your lights and sirens?
Prior to putting on my lights and sirens, Mr. Williams went into the oncoming lane of traffic without signal to turn into the gas station parking lot, which is the sicko that sits at Alter and Warren. My lights and sirens were initiated at that point when we pulled into the gas station.
And how long did you observe Mr. Williams driving at a higher rate of speed before you initiated the lights and sirens?
So Alter and Waveney is like 2 blocks from Warren.
So about how far or how long? Could you tell the court if you know?
So at least 2 blocks.
And once you stopped him, what happened after you stopped him?
I identified myself and stated the reason for the stop. During our encounter, it was later found out that he was carrying a concealed weapon properly because he is a CPL holder.
At some point, did he, in your discussion with him, did he deny speeding to you?
No recollection of that.
Okay. Did you, in your opinion as an officer, how many times have you stopped people for speeding in your history, officer?
During this time, I was doing traffic enforcement. So numbers of hand, I'm stopping at least 10 cars a day on a normal shift.
And do you believe that going in excess of 80 miles an hour was a disregard for the safety of personal property, of people and property in the area?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I have no further questions of this witness, Your Honor.
Thank you. Counsel, cross-examination.
Officer Allison, what uniform were you in that evening? What type of uniform?
I wear a Class B uniform with a name and badge on outermost garments.
Okay. And were you working with a partner or partners?
I believe I had a partner this day.
One partner or 2?
Don't recall exactly how many partners.
Okay. Fair to say, okay. Fair to say you weren't even driving the patrol car that evening.
I was jumping, correct.
You were driving or you were not driving?
I was jumping. Yes, sir. I was in the jump seat, passenger.
Okay, and the jump seat is, explain to the court, what's a jump seat?
The jump seat is the front passenger seat where you run the computer of the scout car.
Okay, and so earlier when you testified, you had to drive over 80 miles per hour. That wasn't accurate, correct?
Well, I had traveled over 80 miles per hour. So yes, sir.
Okay, and you're sure it's 80 miles per hour?
Correct. That's
okay. And that's, let's be clear, you're not saying that my client was driving 80 miles per hour. That's what you had to drive to catch up to him from a distance. Isn't that right?
yes, sir. Correct.
Okay. And you just said driving 80 miles an hour would be considered reckless, correct?
Correct.
But my client wasn't driving 80 miles an hour, was he?
No.
As a matter of fact, if somebody's in a distance, it takes, I guess, double the amount of time to close the gap. Is that correct?
I'm going to object to that, Your Honor, lack of foundation, and I believe the attorney's testifying.
Response?
Well, my response is he's just testified. Well, the prosecutor asked, is he a qualified police officer? Has he stopped how many people? He said 10 a shift. He sounds pretty knowledgeable based on his training and experience. I'm looking for his training and experience here. That is, if you're trying to catch up to a car from a distance, it takes double the amount of speed to actually close that gap. That's all I'm asking. I'm not testifying. I'm
I've been
asking.
asking,
Yes,
does he know how much speed it would take in order to catch up to a person as a foundational question, then move to that question?
Okay, do you know how much speed it takes to catch up to a vehicle in the distance?
I know you have to go faster than the vehicle. If they're doing the speed limit, you shouldn't have to go as fast, because when I first encountered Mr. Williams, we were side by side when he passed me, then we did a U-turn to catch up with him.
Okay, and so what was the radar on in the patrol car?
No.
regarding this 80 miles per hour speed you said your partner had to travel at, you agree with me that on the date in question, you told my client he had to travel about 75 miles per hour.
My notes have 80 miles per hour, over 80 per hour.
Okay. So, and there's a video recording of this, isn't there?
Correct.
And do you have that video recording for us here today?
I do not.
So you're basically relying on your notes to testify today, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, you also stated that my client's vehicle was not only speeding, but I believe you said he did not signal before, I guess, cutting an opposing lane to turn into a gas station. Is that correct?
Correct.
And other than that, he wasn't running through red lights, was he?
I do not have any red light.
Okay. He wasn't swerving in any other lanes, was he?
Traveling into the oncoming lane would be considered swerving into the oncoming lane.
Swerving or intentional to turn left? Which was it?
The lane is not designed to turn into the oncoming lane of traffic. When it's stick lines in the middle of the road, you are not to pass that lane until you're actually conducting your turn. You don't drive into the oncoming lane to get to your turn.
Okay, so it's your testimony that my client was out of control of his vehicle then?
He was operating in a recklessly manner.
Okay, well, and what is well, you're trained as a Detroit police officer. When did you go to the academy?
2020.
Okay, and in 2020, so that's the modern curriculum that they're teaching. They teach about reckless driving, don't they?
Correct.
And what is reckless driving per Detroit police policy?
When you call danger to the public or property in the area.
Okay, so was there any damage to property?
No.
Was there any cars that had to swerve to avoid my client's car?
Not to my recollection.
Did my client hit any cars?
No.
Did my client cut any cars off? Meaning in front of them, ran them off the road?
He passed cars to go around the vehicles. So
Yeah, he passed them, but he wasn't cutting them off, right?
that will be cutting them off because you wouldn't know exactly where they would be trying to travel or turn.
Okay, so it's your testimony then, if I'm on I-75 and I pass on the left lane, I'm cutting them off. The person
Judge, I
next to me.
believe that the question's been asked and answered. I think he's getting argument.
It is easing into arguments. Counsel?
Well, I'm delving and exploring his training in this regard. First, he misstates that the whole mischaracterizes what a record.
And Judge, I'm gonna just object to the mischaracterization.
No. What we're not gonna do is cut each other off. We're gonna let people have complete thoughts and complete sentences. And then, because it's already hard to deal with this with one person online and one person in person. Okay, so what were you saying, attorney?
I'm just asking, he just testified that passing somebody on the left is cutting them off, meaning running them off the road is what I asked. I'm just asking, so if you pass anybody on the left, that's considered cutting them off.
You can ask that question.
Thank you. Can you answer that?
When you're passing into the oncoming lane, yes.
Okay. Now he stops in the gas station, is that right?
Correct.
Let me ask this. Two partners or one with you?
I know I at least had one partner.
Okay. And you weren't actually up at the driver's door interviewing my client, were you?
No.
You didn't actually speak to my client, is that right?
No.
And well, I put that in a double negative. I confused myself. You did not speak to my client. Is that correct?
Correct. I did not.
You were in there's what's called a contact and cover position when you are conducting a traffic stop. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the contact officer is the one that makes contact with the driver occupant of the vehicle verbally and gives directions. Is that right? the cover officer stands back, observes the entire situation to watch his partner's back as well as the occupants for officer safety. Isn't that right?
Correct.
Fair enough to say that you were the cover officer in this situation.
Correct.
And given that, you actually, one of your partners gave you my client's driver's license and information, and you went back to the scout car during this traffic stop, right?
Yes.
Your
And
Honor,
when you went back-
I'm sorry, Mr. Whiting. At this point, I'd like to place an objection.
Okay, go ahead.
I think this is relevant. The issue here is reckless. I don't even know where this line of questioning is going, but I'm going to just object to relevance.
Counsel, where's this, your response is?
She's forgetting the second count, Judge. It has to do with the second count. Failure to immediately disclose that you have a CPL.
That's a
Response?
case, not our case. We're not handling the case of the CPL.
We're willing to what?
We're not in the CPL. That's not ours. That's a state matter. We're only on the right.
I couldn't hear the last of what you said after state matter. What did you say after that?
It's a
We're
state
here
matter.
only here
She's
on
not
the stat
handling
matter.
it.
I'm sorry,
the-
Ms. Mason, what did you say after state matter?
I am handling the reckless. I'm not handling the disclose of the CPL.
Oh, it's a civil infraction anyway, so I get to listen to it. He can continue. Go ahead.
So you, officer, you returned to the patrol vehicle while at least one of your partners was standing with my client at the driver's side of his vehicle. Is that right?
Correct.
Fair to say that you were running my client on what's called LEAN, the Law Enforcement Information Network,
Yes.
and you're running to make sure he had a valid driver's license, if he had warrants, things of that nature. Is that correct?
Yes.
And at some point, you issue a citation, is that right?
Yes.
And you issued that citation based upon your partner's direction, is that correct?
When you're jumping, I can hear everything going on in the vehicle as well.
Okay, so you're back in the scout car, and you can hear everything up at the traffic stop, is that correct?
No.
Okay, so fair to say, at least one of your partners was speaking to my client for at least a couple minutes where you were not even in earshot, is that correct?
Yes.
And let me just back up. Weren't you actually sitting in the back seat? Didn't you have two partners?
Like I said, I have no recollection how many partners I had.
Okay. So, but the one partner who was speaking to my client, he told you to issue him a ticket for speeding, isn't that right?
I would be issuing the ticket myself.
I understand that, but the person who had contact with my client, who interviewed my client, who had full knowledge of my client's statements, directed you right on the video to issue him a ticket for speeding, isn't that right?
If that's on the video, then correct.
Okay. So you're the one that came up with the reckless driving ticket, correct?
Correct.
And that's based on half information. And let me back up. That's based on a lack of information on your part. You weren't interviewing my client as your partner was, is that correct?
Well, the reckless driving all came before the interview of your client. The reckless driving was when he was operating the motor vehicle and what I seen.
Okay, understood. But you did not hear any of my client's explanations, is that correct?
I didn't need to, so no.
Okay. So you didn't need to hear that at all?
I observed the vehicle operate in a reckless manner and I issued the citation.
Okay, so who did you issue it to?
Mr. Williams.
Okay, did you hand him the ticket?
I handed my partner the ticket.
And then your partner handed it over, is that correct?
Correct.
And again, this was on body worn camera as well as the dashboard camera, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just one moment, Your Honor. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Any redirect? I do have a question for the officer.
I have no redirect, Your Honor.
Officer Olson, at the fail to disclose, because that's a civil infraction I get to hear. At the fail to disclose, at what point in time did you learn that he had a weapon in the vehicle?
It was during the traffic stop when my partner had advised me.
Okay, did he let you know, or how did y'all find out that he had a vehicle and weapon in the vehicle?
I don't fully understand your question, Your Honor.
So the charge I have before me is failed to immediately disclose to officer that he or she was carrying a weapon. What happened?
So when you first stop the vehicle, even on the rear of CPL card, you're supposed to immediately disclose, I'm armed, I'm a concealed pistol license holder. It was not immediately disclosed during the initial encounter of traffic stop, and it was later disclosed as I returned back to my vehicle.
Okay, any questions based on my question?
I do, Judge.
Go ahead.
Fair to say, officer, you never saw, touched, or recovered a firearm from that vehicle. Is that correct?
Correct.
So you wrote him failure to display or disclose that it is CPL, but there is no weapon in the car that you can definitively point to. Is that correct?
That I could not point to. My partner had to testify to.
Okay, is your partner here today?
No.
And fair to say, your partner who was with you is the one that did the interview, right? Is that correct?
Correct.
And so all your information based on the failed to disclose comes from your partner. Is that correct?
Correct.
So, okay, so you sitting here with personal knowledge have no idea at what time my client disclosed he had a CPL. Is that right?
I know it's not disclosed while I was at the vehicle. And when usually I'm at the vehicle, prior knowledge, we'll usually explain ourselves, identify reasons for the stop, and give client plenty of time to disclose.
Oh, I understand that. You said usually. Usually this is what happens. I'm talking about this traffic stop. This traffic stop, your partner's at the driver's side window. Is that correct?
Once I returned to the vehicle, it should have been disclosed already because I'm at the passenger side for a while before I returned to the vehicle to run.
What I asked you was your partner was at the driver's door of the vehicle. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
And you weren't at the driver's door. You were on the cover position, right?
Correct.
Nothing further, Judge.
Okay. Anything further from you, counsel? Attorney Mason, you have anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. May this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're all set, Mr. Olson, Officer Olson. All right, Attorney Mason, closing arguments?
Your Honor, I believe we do have the burden beyond a reasonable doubt. And as we know,
Hold on, stop. I'm sorry. Defense.
I think we have to let them rest.
Oh, do you need to rest first? I'm sorry.
yes, Your Honor.
I'm sorry. I so jumped the gun.
Judge.
All right. Do you have any witnesses, defense?
No, Judge, but I do have a motion for directed verdict. And the
Okay.
motion is very simple. Not gonna belabor the point. The witness didn't identify my client. He keeps saying my client. She never had him point him out. We've asked for an in-person trial. He appears by way of Zoom. He wasn't even in the courtroom. But at no point does he identify my client as the driver of that vehicle. Therefore, Judge, that is directed verdict 101. Both counts should be dismissed at this point.
Counsel.
Your Honor, I believe that he identified him. He said that he named him by at this point. He did not identify, but he did direct him to the date and the time of this location. There hasn't been any.
Ms. Mason, you broke up a lot. I didn't get a lot of that.
Your Honor, at this point, I believe that he did indicate by name Andre Martini Wilson, the date, the vehicle that he was driving. There has been no defense point out that this was a lack of an ID information, like that he was not the person at the scene. So, Your Honor, I believe that in the light most favorable to the non-moving party, that the directed verdict should be denied.
Just in brief reply, Your Honor, that's why we always have witnesses say, do you see that person in the courtroom? Describe an article of clothing they're wearing, point your finger at them, the big dramatic moments in front of the jury that says, that's him. We don't even have that here. You can identify him by name, but even what's more problematic about this case, Judge, this officer didn't even interview the person who's in the car. He doesn't interview. He's the cover officer. He's following direction. He goes back. He runs the name. He comes back. He doesn't even issue the ticket. He doesn't even get next to the window to see my client. So how
Did you ask him, was he blind? Did you ask him, could he hear?
I'm sorry?
The officer here, is he blind?
Is he blind?
Blind, like can he see? Can the officer see?
Oh, I would presume he could, Judge.
You know, we act like it's some blind room that, okay, hold on, let me rule. Then I can make my fuss. The difficulties with doing stuff half online and half in the courtroom. It's not your fault, Attorney Mason. But I do think this was in person and it should have been set as an in-person trial on today. So everybody could be in the courtroom so all people can be seen. No. Is the other ticket you want to dismiss your client's ticket?
This you did the same party, Judge.
I got the same driver's license number. Same address, same vehicle. All right. Unfortunately, I do believe I have to grant that directed verdict at this point in time because of lack of identification, visual identification that this is indeed the defendant in this particular matter. Let me tell you something, Mr. Williams. You have 2 reckless drivers. Somebody not lying. And guess what? You have a W last name. Pick up another reckless driver. That's not what the city needs. I drive in these areas. Other people drive in these areas. We don't want to be zip-zap down by somebody who's going too fast or weaving in and out of traffic, especially with it getting warm outside.
I'm not a reckless driver. That's all I can say. I'm not a reckless driver.
Yet you have 2 tickets before me today that say reckless driving on it for the same type of behavior. Let me read it, and I quote from the one that was already dismissed. Failed to signal, went to the corner, violated, turn on the street, going fast, straddling lanes. Drove at a very high rate of speed due to sound on engine, jerking motion. Driver failed to signal, drove into wrong lane of travel to attempt to turn west onto Warren. Those things. And if you have a CPL, you must immediately disclose. As soon as they come to the window, I disclose that I have a CPL. It's the rules of having a gun. Having a gun in the state of Michigan is a privilege. And I know it's a part of the Constitution. It's the right to bear arms. There are certain things when you bear an arm that is covered up and that cannot be seen by people, especially when police officers come to it. And unfortunately, I have to dismiss these matters without prejudice and grant the motion that has been made. That concludes this hearing.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
That concludes this morning's docket.
My aunt lives in the neighborhood too. There.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Nope, y'all learn it when it happens. And then y'all be the first ones before the court talking about some wham, 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 cry.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you just let stuff continue so that people can learn lessons.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, guys, thank you. Have a